Hello and welcome to another episode of Women Waking Up. My name is Lauren Gothier and I am here with Aga today, and we are going to be talking about what it means to biohack your water. So, turning plain old municipal water into a live and a living elixir of life and something that really truly nourishes you from the inside out. So we're going to dive right in and talk a little bit about how Aga got into this and what her stepwise process is for transforming your water that anyone can do, and share a little bit of some tips and tricks along the way. So introducing Aga.
Hello, everyone. I got into water kind of accidentally through this company called Water Liberty. My brother actually started this company years ago, and he is really passionate about water technology and water and cleaning water and providing clean water to the world. And through working with this company, I still work with them on the side doing like content creation and water research. I discovered the fascinating world of water. It is not what you think it is. A lot of people think water is, liquid, ice, and vapor, and that there's three states, and it doesn't really matter what kind of water you're drinking as long as you don't have pollutants in it. It's just water, right? Well, wrong. Everything we know about water is wrong. Scientists have been studying it for generations and years, and they still have no idea. They have an understanding of water, but they don't really understand how it defies gravity, how water travels up a tree, why clouds actually come together. They understand that it happens, but they don't understand how. So today I'm really excited to share all the things that I have gathered. And the first, to begin to understand the diverse world of water, we have to understand that it actually has another phase. There's a fourth phase of water. Have you heard about it?
I have not heard about the fourth phase of water. I'm curious. Please go on to say what that is.
Okay. So we know there's liquid, there's ice, and there's vapor. Mm-hmm. And there's a really magical phase of water in between the solid state of ice and the liquid state. What happens when matter comes together in a organized matrix, basically, into a crystalline shape, it changes, its properties change. So fourth phase water happens when these water molecules, which are usually like haphazardly put together, like the water coming out of your tap, it's like these long chains of H2O that are like worms, and there's like other molecules attached to it. But when the molecules come together, they create this honeycomb structure. So if you can picture a bunch of honeycombs, the water comes together to create this molecular structure, and it changes into a liquid crystal. Mm-hmm. So there's this really, the definition between what is dead matter and what is alive is this crystalline structure. Everything that's alive is a crystal, because it's the molecular structure that holds a vibration, that holds a resonance. And then with that crystal structure, the matter becomes programmable. You can program consciousness into it. You can put memory into it. It can transmute energy.
I think I am familiar with this, and the first time I was introduced to this, which I'm sure you're very familiar with his experiences, Master Emoto's, like the hidden messages of water and how they were forming those, very intentional crystalline structures with either phrases of, love and compassion and kindness, or, darkness and hate and wrong speech. And so what would happen is that they have, all of the beautiful photos that he has taken of the crystalline structures that, developed during that freezing stage of what you're talking about, of taking, liquid water to transforming it into its frozen state, and the crystals that would form, and the crystals that had the word love or playing like a high vibrational, like classical music to them, would just form these most intricate, like detailed pattern. Like, when you see a snowflake and it's just like with a zoomed in version of a snowflake, it's like that. And wow, oh my gosh, it's just really amazing. And then the water structures that he would have, like hate or playing like really like dissonant music to, or like rap music that had just a lot of hateful words. Not that all rap is bad, but rap that had a lot of like hate speech in it. They formed like yellow, very irregular patterns, like made really no sense of geometrical patterns in space. And so that was several years ago that I came onto that and was just amazed.
And the funny thing about that is like you could label the water, you could play music, or you could speak to the water, and all the results were the same. If I speak thank you, it will create a certain structure. If I speak fuck you, sorry, it will go yeah. And so this is where it gets super interesting. A lot of people say that, oh, science proves we're 60 to 70% water, right? No. Dr. Gerald Pollack, he's a bioengineer, really amazing professor. He's been studying water for years. On a cellular level, we are 99.9% water. There's water in our cells, there's water outside of our cells. Everything runs and functions on water, and it's not regular water, it's this crystalline water. So we are a crystalline water being that's constantly transmuting energies and being programmed by vibration, by speech, by sound, by words. You know how everything is constantly affecting our structure. And when we're born, we are 99.9% water. And aging is the process of losing the structure in our water. Because when we lose the structure, we lose the crystalline ability, that matrix that moves information through our body. And when cells cannot communicate, that's when disease begins to fester. That's when inflammation begins to fester, because nutrients can't be put in and toxins can't be pulled out. So there's that really interesting experiment, Emoto, where you speak to the water. And he also did rice. Yeah. He said thank you. He said he ignored one, and then he spoke profanities at one. The one that obviously that he spoke nourishing words to, it fermented beautifully and it became this beautiful rice elixir. The one that he swore at began to mold. And then the one he ignored just was the worst one. A lot of people would think that the one that you would speak angry words to would be the worst, but the one you ignore is the one that just turned totally putrid. So bringing this mentality back to us, we are water. How we speak to ourselves in our mind every single day is affecting if our cells are aligning and creating resonant vibrational, resonant crystals that hold a high vibration, or if we're rotting on the inside. So this is how our thoughts are created, can create health problems or vitality.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I even think that when I speak or do anything, like I have plants all over my house, and if I like ignore my plants, or if I'm, just like whatever, you throw some water on them, but if I like speak loving and I sing to them, like it's a noticeable difference. And it's the same thing with us. And I think, the way that I experience it most is with children, right? Because they're such these malleable beings. And when you speak these like very hateful words to children, you see how it changes like their whole entity. And with adults, we're like a little bit more like, set in our path or our ways, and we're a little bit harder. The world's kind of made us hard. And so these words, you don't see them taking as much of an impact immediately on adults, but so the contrary, because it really does. If you are in a relationship where someone is speaking profanity to you, like, wow, you don't actually vibrate at that higher level compared to when you're in a relationship with someone that speaks lovingly of you and kind. And so I just love taking this water and applying it not only to like what we can actually do to our physical water that we drink, but the water within ourselves as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And professor or scientist, Dr. Maywan, I forget her name. I have it written down actually here. Yeah, Dr. Maywan Ho. She's got this really amazing book called, again, forgot it. Doesn't matter. But basically her research shows that anything that is alive is a crystal and holds a vibration and holds rainbow light colors. When we lose our crystalline structure, we lose our light, because in the end we are light beings. So let's get into how you can make this fourth phase water at home. I personally use something called Adia Clarity. It's like these little ionic sulfate minerals. And I take my tap water, I put a dropper full or two into a big like 2 liter jug, and I let it sit for overnight or just for like 6 hours. And what happens is these minerals bind to contaminants and make them inert. So basically any kind of pesticide, herbicide, pharmaceutical, chlorine and fluoride just evaporate out of the water. It's really interesting stuff. There's a Japanese scientist who basically created it. He cleaned up the radioactive material in Hiroshima using this to heal the water.
Wow.
So it will bind with these anything that shouldn't be in the water, because how it works on the water is it structures the water. When water becomes structured, it separates itself from anything that is not water. So you can also structure water, I believe, with an electrical current. This is what Gerald Pollack does. And you just zap the water with electricity, and all of a sudden, if you have like a bunch of oil, so all the oil contamination we're experiencing in the world, the water just separates from it. And then you can just take the oil out, and the water, you'll see this perfectly clear layer at the bottom. So I use Idea Clarity, and then you can drink the contaminant, the inert material, and you'll actually see a sediment depending on how dirty your water is. I've traveled with this stuff everywhere I go. In my tap, I'm here in Vancouver, Canada, and different days, like once a week, it's really dirty, and like this lime green highlighter green stuff will appear. And other days, this like brown stuff will appear. So day to day, it changes. And the really profound thing about this is it protects against heavy metals. So if there's heavy metals in our water, which everywhere, if you have copper pipings, lead, I've traveled a lot. So Thailand, India, Vietnam, and for all the years that I've traveled with it, I came back and I never had any heavy metal contamination. This last year, I went traveling and I ran out for 6 months. I came back and I had lead, I had arsenic, I had cadmium, mercury. So, and I've been doing these tests regularly for 3 years now. And this was the first year that I had contamination. So it proved to me that this actually works not only to clean the contaminants out from the water, since we are 99.9% water, this Idea Clarity will pull contaminants out from the water in your tissues, or water in your tissues.
That's amazing, Aga. Where do you get this stuff, and can other people?
Waterliberty.com or Amazon. It's called Idea Clarity, ADYA Clarity, CLARITY.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's great. I think that's a really useful, just using that alone, not doing anything else to your water, but simply just protecting against heavy metals. Because, I live here in Oakland and San Francisco too. The piping is very old, it's a very old city. And so even though we get really amazing fresh water from the Hatchachi, by the time it comes from the reservoir into our faucets, it's like almost recontaminated with all of the heavy metals in the piping, and then also pharmaceuticals. It's just huge. You would think it would be common sense not to flush pharmaceuticals down the toilet, but there's really, really high levels of pharmaceuticals in pretty much any and all city.
And also like Drano. People put like caustic chemicals to unplug their toilet or their plumbing, and do you know what you're putting in water? It's really terrifying. And working with Water Liberty, we have so many testimonials coming in. At one point, I was in charge of gathering the testimonials. Wow. Just by changing the quality of your water, people like fibromyalgia went away, depression goes away, bloating. A lot of these contaminants really hurt the digestive system, constantly perpetuating things like leaky gut, especially if you've got fluoride and chlorine and heavy metals. It'll feed pathogenic microbes in the gut. Chlorine will basically empower or fuel candida infection. So it's really important to have high quality water. We focus so much on high quality food. There's a beautiful organic movement pushing for natural, but then we don't really think about water. And bottled water is sometimes worse than tap water because they don't have the same laws to the municipality put laws in place to check for parts per million of contaminants. Well, water bottle companies don't need to go through that.
Yeah, Nestle, I just saw that they were trying to take, Nestle is just such a controversial company because they just basically steal water and then they bottle it and they sell it. But I just saw that they actually got denied from stealing water from this place in Oregon. So that was really great. It was a 9-year battle that local activists were pushing up against. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have clients that walk in my office with water bottles all the time, and it like a part of me just like wants to like curl up in a ball and be like, please don't. Like, and so there's only so much that you can get into with people, and just the way that I work, it's not like I'm not going to shame you for drinking out of a water bottle, but it's just, I think sharing this information is why it's like so amazing and so exciting, because people are like, oh wow, if I knew that, then fuck, I would not drink out of plastic water bottles.
Yeah, and like the plastic that's leaching into that, and yeah, there's other options, and people just simply, it's not, they just don't know yet. And that's why we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
And so one thing I wanted to reiterate is structured water is in nature all the time. Like when you go and get fresh glacier water or spring water that's coming out of the earth, the minerals and the electromagnetic frequency that the planet holds, that emits, is structuring the water constantly. Sunlight, infrared light that beams down onto a river that's flowing down, which actually water spirals. It moves in a spiral. So there's these spiraling machines now. You can get the Vitalizer Plus. It's basically like a blender for your water. There's a lot of really important science in that, because you're recreating how how nature filters water through charge. So you can also put magnets on your blender, which I had to. So the magnetism, the spin, the light, everything affects water. But what happens when, again, we take that water, put chlorine in it, instantly it loses its structure. When it moves through like jagged pipes, it's losing its structure, because water doesn't move in rectangles. It moves in like the spiraling. You can even see the spiral. If you look on a map on a river, it does this. Rivers move like that, and it's because it's moving like this. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so aside from putting those drops in your water, what's the next step that you do?
So back here, I have this gravity-fed water filtration system, and up top, there's a ceramic filter in there, and I love that one because I put my added clarity water in there, and that ceramic filter will trap the big pieces of like the sediment, and in just a few days, this filter turns orange. I actually have to clean it. Without the water droplets, that filter does not turn orange, so the contaminants get through. So like I said, you can drink the added clarity water on its own. It does taste better. Like my roommate, she works nights shifts, and there's really shitty water at her work, and she literally goes to work with like filtered water. And then I gave her these drops, and so at work, you can fill up from the tap, put these drops in, wait like an hour, and it'll have filtered the water. So it's a great thing to have on the go. But at home, I don't want to drink the sediment, so I put it in here. The ceramic filter gets that. And then below here, in here is another 4-layer earth filter that has activated charcoal, carbon, zeolites, quartz sand, and impregnated silver balls. So all of these mediums work to filter the water differently. So some worked on ionic exchange, some works by adduction, some kill viruses, others attract heavy metals. So this is just like a backup system of the drops. And when the water is done going through here, it's what you would find out in nature. It's structured, it's got all its contaminants removed. And if you can see, there's these like 2 white stickers on it. One is love, one is gratitude. So when you structure water and put it into its honeycomb matrix, you basically have a clean slate of, basically water's alive. So you have this clean slate being, and you get to choose what kind of energy, what kind of information it stores. So by labeling your water love and gratitude, it's going to carry that vibration, and when you drink it, it's going to infuse your body with that vibration.
Cool. I have a Berkey filter at my house, which I love, and has, I've always been a huge proponent. I love going to get spring water. I have my big 5-gallon jugs that, again, have like words on them of love, gratitude, thankfulness, and the whole thing. And I love going to get spring water, but it's not practical all of my life. So I do have my Berkey, and that's really helpful. And so I'm curious if I can actually use the drops and then put that water right in the Berkey. And I'm assuming that those carbon filters, because I have the carbon filters and then the fluoride filters right beneath it, like the fluoride, lead, and arsenic filters. So I'm assuming that it would continue to pull things out of that.
Yeah, because even the filters, I know they're not 100%. I believe the Berkeys are pretty good. I think they're like 99.9% foolproof, but it's just like going that extra mile. And this one actually remineralizes your water as well. So there's minerals, beneficial minerals in there as well. So that's just like the first step of what I do. And if, for you listening out there, someone who is really just starting out with this water filtration process, first thing you can do is label your water. Like, that's the easiest thing. It costs no money, just time. Get a water bottle, write love or gratitude on it. Then the next step is getting something like the Berkey or this filter. I think this filter is like $120, and drink from that. And Brita filters, like the jugs with the little like granules of carbon, don't use those. Those don't work. They take out like 10% of contaminants. They're really just giving you this fake, false peace of mind.
Yeah, definitely. I know I've been saying that for so long, and they're like, but it's a filter. I'm like, but it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it's unfortunately businesses are businesses, right? There's not much regulation with what it actually does, if it actually works.
Cool. What's something that you do? Is it something that you do after that water is then filtered through your filter? Then you do something else?
So the beauty of structured water is now that it's this computer, basically, you get to put any kind of consciousness into it so to affect your body. And on its own, structured water is powerful because when water molecules are haphazardly put together, your cells can't actually hydrate properly. Water has a really hard time getting into the cells. So you could be drinking 3 liters of water, but actually still be dehydrated because it's just moving through your tissues. And it's insane. Something like 80% of our conditions are because of dehydration. We just aren't getting enough water. And there's this doctor called Dr. Patanjali. He wrote Your Body's Many Cries Out for Water, and he heals people with water. He just gives them structured water. And in Japan, the government pays for a program. If you've got anything in the digestive system that is in pain, they'll put you on a water program, and the government pays for it.
Yeah. That's so amazing. And Japan is so next level because of all of largely because they're the ones that are producing a lot of this research. And yeah, just very aware that, and a colleague of mine in grad school had told me that he was writing his final thesis on water and dehydration. And so very much so that all of our conditions are tied back to this dehydrated state. And I was just with a friend of mine who has been having some really bad back pain and has some herniated disc, and she's been working with many therapists, and every single therapist told her that it's because of dehydration. And she's like, I can't drink more water. And so we kind of had this discussion of what kind of water are you drinking? Yeah. And I know in the systems of Ayurveda, they use sole, or basically like a salted mineralized water first thing in the morning that is supposed to just kind of help create that isotonic solution to hold more water in your cells so that, like you're saying, it's not just constantly, passing through the tissues.
Yeah, you have to get it in the tissues, and simply just drinking it, putting it in your mouth doesn't work. Yeah. And so when you actually are hydrated on a cellular level, you reduce inflammation in the body. You can improve digestion, any kind of joint pain, inflammation, arthritis, depression. So everything can be connected back to dehydration and inflammation. Because without hydration, there's inflammation. And without hydration, enough water, again, we are electrical beings as well, light beings, and water is a conduit of energy and is a conduit of electricity, your nervous system. There's so much information moving through our body constantly, and it's using this highway, this matrix of structured water to move. And if you remove the structure, it's like wires are not working and information can't hop through the synapses. And yeah, we're just brain foggy, heavy. So just by simply drinking structured water, you can experience, a quantum leap forward in your health.
This is all making me really thirsty. I just want to point that out.
Yeah. So this is my water. I don't know if you can see all the water bubbles in here, or the air bubbles.
Yeah.
Usually if I get a normal glass of water, there won't be any air bubbles in there, right?
Right.
So this is the water that I took from here. And I put Mega Hydrate and Crystal Energy in here. So these are two products that I love, developed by a man named Patrick Flanigan. And he is like crazy genius. When he was, I believe, like 12, I forget, he was young. He was in elementary school. He invented for a science project a way to track all the government's missiles. The next day after the science fair, the government, CIA people came in and they're like, we want you. So he went and he ended up working for the think tank. He ended up working for the Pentagon. He worked for the CIA, for NASA. I'm not sure if it's NASA, but all of these like really intense governing bodies, and with super scientist Henry Kowanda worked on, he made spacecrafts. He made UFOs. He built the first UFO and flew it, and he built jet planes, and he loved water. So when he passed, he was, I believe, like 16, and Patrick was 18. He had given him all of his life's work on water, and he's like, you take this. Wow. You figure out the secret, the fountain of youth. And so these two products were developed by Patrick Flanigan because he has studied water. And so Mega Hydrate is negative hydrogen ions. And negative hydrogen ions are basically the most potent antioxidant in the world. They hold this negative charge, and water also holds a charge. Oh, right, you're frozen. Well, hopefully you come back. Okay, there you go. You froze on my end.
Yeah. So you were talking about hydrogen ions as being the most powerful antioxidant
in the world. And so to make sense of this, let's take it back again. So water actually holds a charge as well, structured water. There's a negative pole and then there's a positive pole. You can create free energy with water. Dr. Gerald Pollack can put electrodes in water and light up a light bulb. A lot of the times why our energy is made through the structured water in our body, creating this charge. And anything that is a pollutant or a pathogen holds a positive charge. Anything that is good for us, like an antioxidant, holds a negative charge. When we sweat, when we poo, we're releasing positive charge. The salt water in the ocean releases negative hydrogen ions. The plants around us are constantly releasing negative hydrogen ions. Salt lamps are releasing negative hydrogen ions. Yeah. That's how they clean the air. Any kind of contaminant, they'll like have their chemical exchange, and then the pollutants will fall away. So the reason why a green juice feels so great, and you have to drink it with the first half hour, because it's got lots of negative hydrogen ions. Where did negative hydrogen ions come from? They're made on the surface of every star and every sun in our solar system. That like magma like pulsing energy is negative hydrogen ions, and it comes in as light, and the plants pull in this negative hydrogen ion and we eat it. So essentially we are eating sunlight. We are eating negative hydrogen ions. So I call this stardust. Like, you want to put stardust in your water? And it is the most potent antioxidant in the world. And what most people don't know about antioxidants is like they work on certain free radicals. So vitamin C will work on a radical maybe 2 or 3 times, and they'll need to get recycled by another antioxidant like vitamin E or glutathione. And they're constantly like playing with each other. There's this domino effect. So a lot of times an antioxidant will in itself turn into a free radical. And this works on all the free radicals. The only thing that is a byproduct is water. So if you've got any kind of inflammation in the body, like this stuff is great, so great. And it creates these like water bubbles. So you get more oxygen in your water as well.
Yeah, a friend of mine is really into all of this and uses Ormus. Have you heard of it? I know you know Ormus.
Yeah. Oh, that's a whole other podcast. I made a probiotic fermented brew that makes Ormus. I just made 5 gallons of it.
That's amazing. So anyways, if he was telling me about, making water more oxygenated. And so I think he had given me a product a really long time ago, and it's now escaped my mind. But it's amazing. Yeah, you can actually see the air bubbles in that water. It's almost like it's sparkling water or something, but not.
Yeah, it can taste a little bubbly, like the more you put in. I get the powder because you can get the capsules, and the capsules are I think this bottle is 50 grams, and I got it for like 50 American dollars, where you can get like 80 capsules and pay more. So the powder is just more bang for your buck. So that's Mega Hydrate, super hydrating, and works super anti-inflammatory. And I believe it does, your mitochondria make ATP, which is the energy molecule, right? Yeah. They actually need something called NADH to create ATP. NADH,
hydrogen.
Yeah, is made with NAD, right? And negative hydrogen ions provide that hydrogen to recycle NAD into NADH, which you can make mitochondria with. So if you've got chronic fatigue or energy issues, that could be a reason why you don't have enough hydrogen. You don't have negative charge, enough negative charge for your like water crystalline battery that your body is. It's insane.
Yeah, water is so powerful. I know that they even, like in the 70s, they came up with a fully electric car that ran off of the exchange of water through this barrier. And I mean, water is the most powerful thing that we have. And it's so funny that people just kind of drink it nonsensically and don't really give it any thought.
Or don't drink it at all.
Or don't drink it at all.
It's like, when was the last time you drank a glass of water? Yeah. So that's Mega Hydrate.
Cool.
Crystal Energy. There's a really fun story behind this one. So Dr. Henry Kawanda, he was the guy who was working on the spaceships. He went and traveled. He was really interested to find the fountain of youth. So he traveled all over the world to find pockets of civilization that live a really long life. And he made his way to the Hunza Valley in Pakistan. And back, probably like 40 years ago, he had to trek for like weeks to get there. And he found there's people who are over 100 years old. They're still having kids at year 100.
Wow.
And they were all really healthy. And he looked at the water they were drinking, and it was like this murky, he thought it was sediment and polluted. But when he looked and he saw what was in the water, it was highly structured, and it had certain minerals in it, certain type of silica clusters. So basically, Patrick Flanigan took his work and like reverse engineered, and he created Crystal Energy, which is like this super longevity elixir. And
I've heard the whole story before. Yeah. Super fascinating.
And how it works, one of the ways it works is by, again, structuring the water and making it hold its structure. And it can help pull in nutrients and pull out toxins 250% time, or 250 times faster, basically. And analogy for this is like when we steep tea, we have to make the water hot because we change the surface tension of water, which happens because the molecules realign in a new pattern. You can't just like put tea in cold water. It does not steep. If you put Crystal Energy in cold water and put your tea in it, it will steep. So if you can imagine that, if I drink this water with, say, like my multivitamin or my food or like a smoothie, those nutrients will move into the cell 250% times more effectively.
Amazing.
And it's also, it can chelate heavy metals or chelate heavy metals. So it pulls heavy metals and mercury out from the body.
Is it enough to like bind them like a zeolite or any other type of clay or activated charcoal to get them out of the body?
I believe just on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's step 2. And then, have you heard of shungite?
Yeah, of course. I have some shungite in my Berkey, actually.
Perfect. So we can both geek out about shungite. So shungite it's like these little crystal meteorites, actually.
Yeah.
Right. So what do you know about shungite?
The same friend that had given me the restructured water download had given me these big pieces of shungite. So he had them in his car, and he has like shungite seat covers. And he just has shungite everywhere, really. And just the kind of capacity to, and I have them by my internet router as well, because of what it does is, from my understanding, is it restructures all of these erratic energy patterns into more like geometric crystalline structures, so that they don't interfere with our body in a way that is damaging to our cells and to our tissues.
Yeah, so it protects against EMF and protects against negative energies, essentially. Mm-hmm. And so in Russia's like so ahead of the time. If you want to like read what really is happening on this planet, like study Russian scientists. Basically, it works to purify water as well. So it's used in filtration systems instead of carbon. They'll use shungite, and I believe it has. So now that we understand that water is conscious, it can be programmed, it can hold energy and transmute energies. You can now put shungite in water. So I have shungite at the base of my filter and in my water bottles. There's a code for balance and harmony in shungite that infuses it into the water. So when you drink the water that's been sitting with shungite, you're basically providing your body with the information of how to heal, primordial healing powers.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's so simple. It's so easy. And yeah, I was amazed because I had all these little pieces of shungite, and he gave me these big blobs, and I was like, whoa, mm-hmm. How did you even get this from Russia?
Yeah. A scientist called MJ Pangman, her site is called Dancing with Water, I believe. You can find information on shungite on her website and how to use it. For example, like spheres or like pyramids are really great for outside, placing it around the home or wearing as jewelry. These actually like uneven shardy pieces are better for water. And I don't remember why. There's obviously a scientific reason behind why. I just don't know it at this moment.
Yeah.
And that's.
I just went to the Dancing with Water website, and definitely you can get products and shop, have it all shipped to you and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and shungite's relatively cheap. I think I got like a big bag for $20 on Amazon. So it's like, again, this is, if you can't get all these fancy powders, it's like, get a filter, put shungite at the bottom, label it. This will cost you probably like less than $150 altogether.
Yeah. What is that filter that you're using? What's the name of it?
This one's the Audi Clarity filter, but it's also like, it's called the Korean something. It's called the gravity fed 4-layer earth filter. So again, they're on Amazon, super cheap, $120. And then the filters you exchange the top one, I believe, every 6 months, and the bottom one every year. And they're like $20 to change. And it's so worth it. Like people notice the water in my house. They'll go like, wow, it's so so nice. I'm like, is it wetter? Water can be wetter when it's structured. Yeah. And if you drink, for me, Dasani water like burns my throat. It feels like I'm swallowing like little needles.
Ever since I was like 8 years old, I was like, I can't drink this shit. This tastes so bad.
Yeah, it's like, of course I'm gonna go drink Coca-Cola or like orange juice when you're a kid, because water does not taste good because it's not real water. But if you drink this water, it's like, I can't stop drinking this water. It's all I want to drink.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So we'll, for everyone that's watching, we'll go ahead and link all of these products underneath the YouTube link, so that you'll be able to see them and to explore purchasing these items and to bringing either one thing, all of the things into your home and into your life. We'll go ahead and do that for you.
This is the last one.
Yeah.
This is Myron Violet Glass. So you can't really see it, but it's a deep purple. And the story behind this one is that there was this purple glass in ancient Egypt and all the sites, and they're trying to figure out what this glass was. And the company reverse engineered it, and they realized it was a way to preserve herbs, elixirs, because the glass filters different spectrums of light. So the sun has two energies. It has an invigorating life force energy. So when a sapling is exposed to light, it grows in the light. But when it matures, the sunlight also decomposes. if something's in the shade, it doesn't decompose as fast because the sun has like a breaking down energy.
Mm-hmm.
So what you can do is Myron glass filters the breaking down energy. So it only pulls in the life force energy. So I set this out in the sun with my, all my water with the shungite and the crystal energy and the mega hydrated. It's the consciousness love water. And then I filter it with nourishing sunlight energy because we too eat sunlight in all of its various forms. And if you say, you can get jars too, and if you put a tomato in a regular jar and a tomato in this jar, the one in the regular one will rot in like 2 weeks, and this one, it'll go for like months, 3 months, without rotting. So if you've got herbs that you want to create like this really super healing elixir, store them in Myron glass.
Awesome. So many tips, Aga. I mean, I feel just like excited to go out and do all of the things. And I've been, playing with water for several years. So it's great to even get the download of so much more information from you.
Yeah. Oh, and okay, last thing. This is what made me like shungite. So shungite is these like little crystal guys. They are super powerful because they have something called fullerenes. Have you heard about fullerenes?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so scientists, there's a study done on fullerenes. They took, the powder of it, and they wanted to see if it was toxic or like what it does. So they studied it on rats. They gave fullerenes to the group of rats, and then control group got nothing. A few weeks later, the control group of rats died. So they got another group, then they died. Then they got another group, and they died. And they were like, what is going on? These rats fed the fullerenes were in like perfect health, and they outlived 3 generations. Wow. So this stuff does some really crazy things to our DNA and longevity, and it's something that obviously Russian scientists are tapped into and we know nothing about.
Yeah, wow, fullerene, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Now we have, I think we've given people pretty much the recipe for longevity and to drink the elixir of life to banish all diseases. So you're welcome.
Yeah. Remember, it's food, water. Most people can go a few weeks without eating. You can fast, but water is like super, super important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else that you want to mention before we go ahead and wrap up for today?
Let's look at my notes here. I think I got everything. Yeah. Just if you are interested in digging deeper into fourth phase water, because there is so much information, we'll post below the information on all the products and also some big names like Gerald Pollack, Patrick Flanigan, Victor Schauberger. These are all people who have been studying water for years, and this is like not mainstream science, but it's very important thing to know about, right? If you're living on this planet and being a human, we should know about this.
Yeah, especially because we're living in a time where our water is more polluted than ever.
Mm-hmm. And scarce than ever. It's really important to be able to create water like this at home. It's so worth it. So worth your investment. If you're, if you're struggling with any kind of health issue, and you're not drinking clean water, like that, start there. It's a big impact.
Yeah. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for sharing, Aga. I'll just take this time to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Women Waking Up. We are Women Waking Up. My name is Lauren, and Aga here has shared with all of her knowledge with us. Well, a piece of her knowledge, but all her knowledge on water. So we will see you next time. Each episode airs on Thursdays. Catch us on YouTube and also in the iTunes podcast library. So excited for more to come.
And we're on Facebook as well. We are Women Waking Up. Find us on Facebook.
Yes. Okay. Bye all. Thank you.
Bye.